All right, Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. And I just wanted to do a real quick video on something that I was meditating on earlier. Yesterday I did a video and I read a couple of these verses, but that wasn't directly what the video was about. So I just wanted to highlight this exact point in the scriptures that goes into counting the costs. You know, counting the costs. Excuse me, I got a little raspy voice right now. But now that we in this ministry, we've been called to do this work, the highest level of work on the planet Earth, which is feeding the sheep, all right, feeding the hopeful elect, and things of that nature, staying with brothers, being brotherly. Now that we've been called into this, all right, we have to daily, there are certain spiritual check marks we have to do daily. And one of them is what? Counting the costs, counting the costs, all right, which basically is, goes into self-examination. Like the scriptures say, examine thyself. A part of examining yourself is counting the cost, man. And I'm going to read the scriptures on this, but yeah, we got to count the costs, because I hear, I've always heard Apostle Gabar, all the apostles really, and elders, they always say, do you understand what you're a part of? And earlier on listening, when I would hear that into the truth, it always kind of resonated with me because, and earlier on when I would hear that, I would hear them say that, and I wouldn't necessarily gloss over it, but I didn't really heavily meditate on that, really what we're a part of. But then as years go by, you start to just meditate on things more, and you really do weigh everything. You weigh everything, you weigh everything, like meaning, like the title of the video, you count the costs. That goes into understanding what you're a part of, understanding the fight that you signed up for. All right. So I'm gonna read the scriptures, man, because that's as spiritual men, we have to understand what we've been called to be a part of, and we understand that this is a spiritual warfare. This is a spiritual fight. So we're called, this is a war, and you got to count the cost. You got to truly understand what you're a part of, and understand the hardships and everything that's going to come with it. And really think about, is this really what you want? Is this really what you want to do? And if it is, then you got to have a certain level of commitment to it. So before I get to scripture, I just wanted to I'll read the scripture first. All right, Luke 14:27. It says, "And whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest happily after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him." All right. So it gave the analogy of, you're building a tower, but before you build it, you got to sit down and count the cost, whether you have enough to finish building it. So I got the definition. I just Googled it, of the meaning of count the cost. It says, if someone counts the cost of something that has happened or will happen, they consider how the consequences of that action or event can affect them. All right. It also says counting the cost means recognizing and agreeing to some terms first. But like it said they consider how the consequences of that action or event will affect them. You consider what it means for you to be in the truth. You consider what it means for you to dedicate your life to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Just like that man that built the tower, Yahushai is like, look, before you build the tower, you should sit down and consider if you have enough to build it. And we can apply that to this truth. Like, now that you've come into this truth, or if you're just now hearing about the truth, you gotta count the cost. Like you gotta consider how you coming into this truth will affect you and affect your life and what it's going to bring you through. You got to count the cost, man. You got to see how much like in a metaphoric, examine, like think how much this truth really costs, man. What it's going to cost you. We're sacrificing our life. And what does that mean? That we've given up any type of hope, any type of stay, any type of permanent stay in this world. We've given up all hope of that. Meaning we're not worried about becoming famous or building up a generational legacy in this world. We're not worried about having a whole bunch of children so that they can have children and their children have children. We've given up. We've given up. We've forsaken this world because we know this world is temporary. So we're focused on the kingdom of heaven. But in order to do that comes with a certain mindset, man, a certain mentality. And that all comes with counting the cost. So let me keep reading in Luke 14. Or actually, let me read verse 27 again. And it says, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So the cross that we have to bear is your burden. Is your burden. All right. It's your lot. It's your burden. It's whatever trials and tribulations the Lord is putting you through. That's your cross. That's your burden. That's because that cross represents basically, your hardships in life. Just like Yahushua had to carry his cross, literally, physically he had to carry the cross, and spiritually he had to carry his cross. Like Yahushua had, his burdens that he had to go through in life. The scriptures say he was a man acquainted with grief and sorrow. So that cross represents your burden, and then also this truth in itself is a burden to us. Meaning that literally having this godly knowledge in these wicked vessels and in this wicked world is a burden. Not saying that the truth is not good for us. We know the truth is a blessing, but literally to have the knowledge of what's right in a world that's all wrong, that in itself is a burden. Having to live amongst and having to see all these wicked people and these freaks and weirdos out here and not being able to do anything about it when you know that everybody is wrong and you're right. That's like a burden, man. So bearing your cross, that is that's a part of counting the cost. Bearing your cross is a part of counting the cost. And again, it says what? Counting the cost is if someone counts the cost of something that has happened or will happen, they consider how the consequences of that action or event affect them. So what is the action or event that we are doing? Well, we are in the truth. We've accepted that the Lord, we're in the truth. So you got to you got to think about the actions or consequences of you coming into this truth. Which is what? You taking up your cross. When you come into this truth, you have to take up your cross. Meaning spiritually, you gotta take on the burdens that the Lord has put on you, and whatever they are. That's a part of counting the cross, man. Counting the cost. All right. Do you have what it takes to finish the race, no matter how hard it may get? You got to take up your cross. Take on the burdens that the Lord has put you through. You may have been, you're not as close with certain family members anymore because you're in the truth. Your girlfriend may have left you because you're in the truth. Your job may have found out that you're in the truth, so they fire you. These are all a part of our cross that we're taking up, and this is what you got to count when you come into the truth. You got to weigh the consequences, right? Meaning there are certain things that are going to happen because we're in the truth. Pretty soon we're going to be a threat. We're going to be an enemy to all of society. We already are, and we're out there in the highways and the byways. They don't like what we're saying, but pretty soon the government is going to label us terrorists, and they're going to label us enemies of the state. You know, they're gonna label us enemies, man, and they're gonna try to have people come and hunt and get us. This is what you all got to count. You gotta think about these things when you come into the truth. Do you have the resolve needed to finish this race? So let me keep reading. Luke 14:29, it says, "Lest happily after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him." You know, it says, saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish it." And you don't want that to happen, man. You don't want to come into this truth and then you didn't count the cost. You didn't think about how serious this was. You didn't think about all the trials that are going to come when you came into the truth. So then you bug out and you go back into the world because you just couldn't handle it. You're going to be a laughingstock to the world, man. You know, you're going to be a laughingstock. And most importantly, man, the Lord is going to judge your ass because of that. So that's what we, you know, this whole, everything Yahushua is saying is going into counting the cost, man. You can't just come into this truth and then walk away. This is the oath that you made into Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Life and death, man. A life and death oath. We're in this. This is it. This is it. If you go back into the world, the Lord is going to give you a horrible death, like the scriptures say. It would have been better of you to not known the way of righteousness. A lot of people, I've seen multiple people, individuals, come into the truth and then fall out. And they don't think anything's going to happen to them. The fact that nothing happened to them right away, that's scary within itself. Because that means the Lord is waiting to whoop your ass at the perfect time, man. That's scary. You would rather you bug out and your ass just die the next day. But nah, man, the fact that these people are still alive, and I can think of a couple people that have fallen out the truth. The fact that they still alive and their life is going good, quote unquote good, that's scary as hell, because you know that means Yahweh Bashim Yahushai he's going to whoop their ass, but the Lord does everything on the best timing. You know, everything is about timing, man. So the Lord he got everything. He's simmering up a complete, perfect, whole ass whooping for them. So now that we in this truth, we can't go back, man. You gotta count the costs. All right. Do you really want this? Is it worth it? You know, these are internal questions that you got to ask yourself on a daily basis and form a resolve. Verse 31, it says, "Or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace." You know, so in this analogy, he was saying like if a king going to war, that king has to think about, he has to count the cost, whether he's going to be able to beat the army of 20,000 when he only has 10,000. Like, you got to think about the action. You got to think about what you're getting yourself into and whether you're going to be able to finish it, to see it through. You know, like the analogy of that king, like, can he defeat an army having less numbers? You know, he's counting the cost. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about if he has what it takes to fight the hardship that comes with what he's doing. And that's how we got to be in this truth. All right. We got to have resolve. And now I'm going to this word resolve. Let me go into it real quick on the etymology. Resolve, it says what? It says melt, dissolve, reduce to liquid, separate into component parts. That's not the exact definition I'm looking for. That is what resolve goes into in a physical sense. But let me see. All right, here we go. Right, reading down. It says late 14th century. It comes the meaning determine, decide upon. From 1520, hence pass a resolution, decide, settle. All right. So that's really what the word, here we go, resolve in a noun. It says what? Determination, firmness or fixedness of purpose, a determination. Right? So that word resolve pretty much means to be determined, to come to a decision, and you that decision that you make has to be unshakable, unbreakable, undeniable. Yeah, that's what resolve means. You gotta be firm and fixed in your decision. And that's what we gotta have in this truth. That's what it really means to count the cost. If you count the cost properly, then you gotta have a certain level of resolve, a certain level of determination, a certain level of commitment, and you can't go back. And that's what we gotta have in this ministry. We gotta have resolve, man. When we count the cost, then we have to come to a certain level of resolve, a certain level of determination, firmness, because we're going to have the whole world as our enemy. So if our resolve is weak, if we haven't truly counted the cost, and if our resolve is weak, then when the world comes against you, you're going to fall, man. You're going to give in. You're going to break. When these scorners and scoffers come up on the highways and the byways, you're going to get weak. And you're going to give in to what they say. You're going to bug out. When they try to press upon you to take that mark of the beast, your ass is going to fold because you was weak in the faith. You didn't have the resolve. All right. And then what? We're in this truth, man. Counting the costs. We're in this truth. So when you in the truth, you got to be able to take rebuke from another brother. Okay. You're going to get rebuked by your elders or by brothers, over you. You're going to get rebuked, man. And do you have the resolve to take that rebuke, to take it on the chin and keep pushing forward? Do you have, what I'm saying? These are the things that you got to think about. These all what comes with counting the costs. Do you have the resolve? Because, and that's what the apostles and elders say, knowing what you were part of, man. You're going to get rebuked when you in this truth. The rebuke is going to happen. That's a part of knowing what you were part of. Do you have the resolve to take the rebuke and to be humble and to keep pressing forward? To take the rebuke on the chin like a man and keep moving and not giving up. Okay? Do you have the resolve to endure the chastisement, endure the pain that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to put you through and to keep moving forward? This is what resolve truly is. Excuse me, allergies. Resolve, like the word said, is firmness. If something is firm, it's not easily moved. It's not easily shaken. So the whole point is you're going to come across pressure that's going to try to shake you, but you got to have the resolve, and that resolve comes from counting the cost. So let me keep going in Luke 14 and 32. It says, or else. So now I'm sneezing. Verse 32, it says, or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. So why do Yahushua say that? Why do Yahushua say, if you can't forsake everything, you can't be my disciple? Because that comes with counting the cost, man. All right? That's the resolve you got to have when you sign up in this truth. You got to be able to forsake everything in this world, your so-called family, your so-called friends, and you got to be able to deny yourself. You got to be able to deny yourself. You got to be selfless and put brothers ahead of before you. Make the sacrifices for the church, for the body, man. Just like the apostles and elders have done, So that's what we got to have, man. We have to have resolve, man. We got to count the costs daily, examine ourselves, really understand what we're a part of more and more, day in and day out. Count the cost, man. Ask yourself, do you really know what you're a part of? Do you know what you're gonna have to battle and face and come to true resolve, man? You know, like Naruto, I think when he was fighting pain, he said, I'll show you what true resolve is, man. So we have to have true resolve, man. Resolve and firmness that comes from counting the cost. Like Yahweh Shai said, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. So that's the resolve that we got to have as Yahweh Shai's disciples. We got to be able to forsake everything. So with that, Lord willing, this video was edifying. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Shalom.